Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we'll start this Avodah Zarah daf Samach Aleph. We are going to begin on Samach Aleph, Amud Aleph by the new Mishnah. Says the Masnisin. Hamatar Yeno Shel Ovid Kachavim. Let's say you have a Jew that was processing the wine of an akum, v'nosnu b'rshuso, but the wine was kept in the non-Jew's home. Says Rashi, Shiasu b'kashrus l'machu Yisrael. Why is it called this language when he's processing? Because he wanted it to remain kosher, so he'll be able to sell it to another Jew. But he's not giving any money until it's sold. However, it's left in the home of the akum, so it depends. So it says uvabayis hapatuach l'reshus harabim. If let's say his house is in the public domain, so it depends. If we have a situation where you have Avodah Chachavim, but you also have Yisrael that live there, so in that situation the wine is mutter. Why? So Rashi says the mirsas Chachavim, because that akum who's there is afraid. He's not going to touch it. The Omer is going to say Dilma Chazuli Hanach Yisrael. Maybe a Jew's going to see this. The Avri Mershus Arabim Umafsidna. They're going to end up seeing me touching it, and therefore no Jew's going to buy it. Even in a situation where the Yid doesn't have a key, which to lock it up, or some type of a seal, it doesn't make any difference. It's still going to be mutter as long as there's Yisrael, because the akum is afraid. However, back in the Mishnah, in that situation, we are afraid he's going to touch it. You actually have to sit there, and you need a mashgiach. However, it doesn't have to be there forever. Even as a yotze, because it's no different than a Yisrael who lives in the neighborhood. So the fact that he could come in at any time, so therefore that's enough to make the akum afraid to touch. Rav Shimon ben Eliezer Omer Reshus Kachavim Achasi. She says no. The Gemara is going to explain this, but the idea basically is that they're all like one Reshus. We'll see if that means he's Mekel or he's Machmir. We'll get to that in the Gemara. Okay. Then the Mishnah says, Hamatahir Yenu Shalav Kachavim. Again, you have this Jewish person who's processing wine because his goal is to sell it to Jews. But Nasr Reshusai. And here, it's again in the Reshus of the Akum. It's in the non-Jew's home. However, the Akum wrote the following thing. Quote, Hiskabalti mimcha mois. I already accepted money from you. So mutter. So in this situation, it's mutter. Says Rashi, even if the house is open to the public, so in that situation, the fact that he wrote Hiskabalti, that is enough that it is mutter. Avodim yirtzi Yisrael haitzi ve'enu manicho ad shiyitim loyes es ma'oisav zehoy ma'oisav b'meishan v'asro. However, on the other hand, if let's say the Yisrael wants to take it out, however the akum won't let him, so in that situation, this actually took place, and there we said it was aser. Says Rashi, shayayin nasalo mashkoin. So it's Im writes again. So the wine is like a collateral. Aser dulo mirtzas. He's obviously not afraid. The savar ichazu. People see me. I'm not going to lose out. The amina ditihu. The akam's just going to lie and say it's his. Says the Gemara. Be'ir shekul v'chachavim nami. So we said if it's a city filled with only v'chachavim, so then in that case, it's going to be aser unless there's a yoshem nechnas. So he said the truth is, be'ir shekul v'chachavim nami. There are all these peddlers, they sell spices and the like, and a lot of Jewish people will do that, and therefore the Akum should still be afraid, even in a situation where the whole city is Avodah Chachavim. So Amar Shmuel, Be'ir Sheishla Dolatayim of Ariach. It's a place which has doors and bolts, and therefore She'ein Nechnasin Ba Elo B'Reshus. The only people that can enter into that city are basically the people that live in that city, and no one else has permission to do so. So they know basically when people come, which is interesting about a Yotzev Nichnas. If they know precisely when you're going to come, so then they could always just trick you at that time. Rabbi Yosef, B'chaloyin k'rishus harabim dami. A window is like a rishus harabim. What does that mean? It says Rashi, afilu bayis b'suach l'chatzer. Even if you have a house, says Rashi, open up to a courtyard. B'chalon patuach l'chatzer b'rishus harabim. However, your window, which is open up to the rishus harabim, keneged Pesach, habayis kiman patuach rishus harabim dami. And therefore, again, if just as long as there are Yisraelim in that city, then it's good enough. Apparently, again, even without a mafteach or a chaysim. The ashba kurishus harabim dami. Also, an ashba is like kurishus harabim because people are constantly throwing stuff in there. The dikla, when it comes to a date palm tree, let's say it's a Jewish-owned tree, kurishus harabim dami. So in that situation, that also is like kurishus harabim, because again, he's going to be constantly inspecting his tree. He's going to come. He's always afraid maybe the yid is going to come and take some fruits. Now, psik reshe, what if you're dealing with a tree that stopped growing? Now, there's no fruit. So even if it's the Yisrael's tree, maybe you're not afraid anymore because you're not going to expect the Yisrael to ever use that tree because it doesn't have any fruit. So why is he coming? So plegi ba Rav Achav Ravina Chad Aser Chad Shariman Di Aser Lomoy it's Solikasim. No Jew is going to end up coming over here because there's no fruits, and therefore the Akam's not afraid, and therefore it's Aser because he may have touched. Umandashari, why? Because Zimna de Avda Le Behema V'Salach Le'uni Basra. He may want to go to higher ground. So, I have a tree. Let me climb up the tree so I can now look around to see where my animal is. And therefore, that's a real possibility. And therefore, because of that, the Akam will be afraid in that situation as well. Okay. Tanurbanan. Echad alokech v'echad asaycher bias b'chatzer. Whether we're talking about someone who buys or rents out a house in a courtyard, shel avikachavim, umilo yain is filled with wine. Yisrael dor ba'oisa chatzer, and you have a yid that lives in that chatzer, so mutter. Bi'afal pi she'ein maftech v'chaisim biyadai. Even in a situation where there's no maftech, there's no chaisim, it's fine because again the akam's not is afraid. B'chatzar cheres mutter. However, if let's say as Rashi says Yisrael dor b'chatzar cheres, he doesn't live in that courtyard, so then it's going to it's b'chatzar cheres mutter only v'hu shemaftech v'chaisim yadai. Here it will only be mutter if he actually has a seal or a key, because otherwise he's not there. Okay. Again, someone who's processing wine of an akum in order to sell it to a yid, in the non-Jew's domain, Yisrael dar ba'oisachatz, there's a Yisrael that lives there, mutter. However, v'hu shemaftech v'chaisim yado. Rav Yochanan latana tani al b'shein maftech v'chaisim yado. You don't need it. It's still mutter. Okay. So again, it's different gearses whether or not you need the maftech l'chaisim as long as there's a Yisrael there. B'chatzar cheres. So we said before that if the yid is not in that chatzar, but in a different chatzar, he has to at least have a key. Aser, but here it says b'chatzar cheres aser avol pi shemaftech l'chaisim b'yod d'ibra meir. That even if you would have a key, the fact he's in a chatzar cheres is not enough. Has to be that he's sitting and watching. Or it has to be that he comes at set times. Hey, what is that referring to? So Tanakam Nami Mr. Ka'aser. So he's also saying it's Aser. They'll erase the Seifa. Maybe it's talking about the ratio of the Seifa. What's that? It says Rashi of Yain Shel Kachavim. You have the wine of an akum, Rishus of Kachavim, and it's in the Rishus of akum. Yisrael dar ba'oisa chatzer, but he lives in that courtyard. That Rameir says it's mutter only if there's a maftech and a chaysim yadai, and maybe here the Chachamim are asering. I thought we said in that case they hold even without a key it's mutter. The El Seifa. The El Seifa dereisha. What is that? Says Rashi. Heichad the yayin shel Yisrael. The wine was actually the Jews. But Tani Yisrael Dor b'chatzar cheres, and if the yid lives in a different chatzar, it's only mutter with a key. The kaimer tanakam b'chatzar cheres mutter v'husham avtech v'chesem b'yadav. V'cham loyum aser ad shehi shomer yoshim v'shamer. You have to be watching it. O ad sheyabu mamoyna habolakitzin, or he comes at certain times. Mamoyna bolakitzin giryusahu. That sounds worse. Ella ad sheyabu mamoyna she'enu bolakitzin. It means not that he comes at set times, because then they'll know. It's talking about that they come not at set times. Okay, let's stop for a second and look at question 14. Question 14. Halokecha soicher bayis b'chatzera shel akum, and it's filled with wine. Kate mishamer ba'ofen sheYisrael dor b'chatzar cheres. What's the din if he's living in another chatzar? So, according to the Tanakhama, Sarach Maftech L'Chaysim Biyad HaYisrael, he needs a key. Or the Chachamim says you need a Shomer Yetzer Nichnas Shalol L'Kitzin, that not at the times, so that the Akum is not going to know when you're coming. Okay, let's finish this parak. Rav Shimon ben Eliezer Omer Rishus Avikachavim Achasi. It's all one Rishus. So Iboy, what does that mean? Rav Shimon ben Eliezer Lahakel Lahachmer. Well, is he going lenient or strict in that statement? So we have to understand this. Yehuda Omer Zeiri Lahakil. Rav Nachman Omer Zeiri Lahachmer. Yehuda Omer Zeiri Lahakil. How is he being lenient? Like this. So Hakamer. Tanakama, this is what the Tanakh is saying. Kashem Shibur Shusoi Aser, just like it's Aser in your Rishus, Kafar Shusoi Avikachavim Aser. Acher nami aser. So too, if it's in the rishus of another akum, it's also aser. Why? Because we're afraid that they will be in cahoots with one another, and therefore they're going to help each other out. It's only aser if it's in their rishus. Since if the guy has no rights to the wine anyway, then he's not going to help him out because so again, this is based on what we said. Let's just read it one more time. That if, let's say, you have a city which is filled with Levikachavim, it's also until you have a Shomer, or maybe a Yoshev Nechnas, and Rav Shimon Lezer says, Rishus Levikachavim Achasi. So what does that mean? It's like one Rishus. So maybe in this case, he's actually going Lakula, and he's saying that the whole issue is in the Akum's Rishus, but if it's put in someone else's house, it's not an issue, or maybe it is an issue, right? So he is not Chayshel Gaimun, so therefore it's not an issue. If it's in the hands of the Rishus of the property of a different non-Jew, then you don't have to worry. So maybe he's Mekel in that case. The only time again you have to have like a mashkiach is b'rishusai, avol b'rishus avik. If this wine is in the hands of rishus of an avik chavim acher, it's in the hands and the rishus of the property of a different non-Jew, then mutter. No, kol rishus avik chavim achasi. It's always usher because it's considered like one rishus, so it doesn't make any difference. Even if it's in a different rishus, it's like it's in the same rishus. Okay, so Tana was Rav Nachman or Mizirul Hachmer. So there's actually an opinion we can see, like the opinion that we're strict. Because of the tricksters. The fact that we say obviously that indicates that he is strict and says that it's considered to be all like one house. In that it is aser. So again, this is the whole issue of whether you're chayshel goyim. Okay. Debay par zak Rafila. So this particular person, that's the name of the place, and Rafil is Sheni Lamelech. Means he was like the second to the king. Oisivu chamra gabe arise. They gave wine to the hands of the sharecropper, also non-Jewish. So everyone came to Rabbi Meimar. So again, maybe we shouldn't have to worry. It was put into the hands of the rishus of the property of another non-Jew. Maybe the only time we can be concerned of one to the other, it's only in a situation where basically they are sitting one next to each other. In other words, each one will help each other out. But a sharecropper won't leave his wine by a viceroy, right? Right? So why you're not going to leave your stuff by like the king, right? So even if the king left it to you, so you're not gonna do him favors thinking that he's gonna do you a favor, because it's not gonna happen. So maybe there's a distinction between the people, and we don't make a little plug. So Amru Rava Adarabba. Now feel man the Amru Chashin L'Gaimim Hanam Lehecha Delay Mirtzas Minei. So he's not afraid. Avlahacha Kivan Der Mirtzas Minei. The sharecropper is afraid of his master, of this powerful man. So Machvi Aleha Zechusa. He's going to cover up for him. Hahu Karcha. Fine. So that is that. Hahu Karcha. There was this village, Rashi says, the Havi Yosef Be Chamr Yisrael, that there was this Jewish wine. Ishtaka Chachavim Dahavi Ka Beni Veni. So we found the Akum that they were among the barrels of this wine. So Merava im nitfas alav kiganav chamr shari v'ilo aser, says Rashi. Im ovikachavim chalashu. If let's say he's weak, v'yesh emas shaifte ir alav, and he's afraid of, let's say, the kings and all the government and the police. V'imsu noigeya, if they found out that he stole it, that he touched it, nitfas alav kiganav, that he'll be stamped upon himself like a ganav, then it's going to be mutter to drink, because he's going to be afraid to touch it. V'ilo aser apahanan davadi naga, but otherwise it'll be aser. It'll be aser afilu bahana. So lim maskana de milsa. This is a very important piece. You kind of would think that you would just end here, but there's a huge Rashi over here. I believe it's a Rashi that breaks it down. Maskana de milsa. So we have to see this. What is the final result? Maga of kachavim. When it comes to touching, what is the din of maga? Not make America great again, right? What maga? Maga of kachavim. Kivan shenischavin liga shichshuch. If let's say his kavana was to touch it and shake it up, even if his intention was not for nisuch, as soon as he shakes it, once there's shichshuch, it's asur b'hana. Okay. Because his kavana was to shake it. Okay. So since he had kavana, it's asur b'hana. Skipping a couple words. Shalo bekavana. Let's say he did not have kavana. Kagain hikar bashu yain, as we saw, he thought the chachamim, he thought it was beer, but it was really wine. Mutar b'hana. In that case, it is mutar b'hana. So that's the difference. If he knew it was wine and he shook it, it's asur b'hana. If he didn't even realize it was wine, then it's mutar b'hana. Okay. V'chein nafal bor nami shul bekavanahu umutar b'hana masnisin. We also saw from our Mishnah, if he fell into a pit with wine and he got up, so it was also shul bekavana, and therefore it's mutar b'hana. The chain, so too, nischaven lital davar acher. Let's say his intention was to take something else. For example, could go in esrog. We said the case that he saw an esrog falling and he grabbed it and was somewhat in it, so we ended up saying we grabbed his hand so he wouldn't, right? So the ravashi the loba kavanahu umutar b'hana. So in this case, the wine is mutar b'hana. Again, we were careful over there. Skipping a few lines. Kaicha shalav kachavim. So when it comes to kaicha, the pouring of the wine, b'chiburin kigain de oirik aruki. Let's say he's pouring into the wine, the hikerbo shehu yain asur b'hana. So if he knew it was wine, then it's asur b'hana. Lo hikerbo mutar af b'shtia. So if we're talking about kaichai and he didn't even know it was wine, so then it is mutar even to drink. Skipping to the last line, b'shlo b'chiburin kigain zrika. If he just threw it, mutar af b'shtia. So if it's b'chiburin, it's only when he knew it was wine. But if it was shlo b'chiburin, like zrika, so here's the chiddush, v'yafil neschavein. Even if he had kavana, it's still mutar b'shtia. Says the last line, Ravashi di'amer kol shemazav tar b'kachavim inu oisa yain nesach. So when you throw it, it never can become yain nesach, because that's the dinim of yain nesach is tied to a zav, and zav doesn't become tummy through throwing. So therefore, again, limaskana. But maskana de milsa. If you had kavana to do shichshuch, it's asur b'hana. If you didn't have kavana, then it's mutar b'hana. When it comes to kaicha, the pouring of the wine, if it's also mechiburin, So there's a chiluk if hikr, you knew it was wine or not. But if it's not mechuber, like zrika, even with kavana, it's mutter afilu b'shtia. Okay, very important piece. Question TA13. Hamatar yenim shalakum v'nosnu b'shus acher shekulam akum. Everyone's an akum. It's aser. Maniach b'shus akum acher. It was put into the rishus of someone, a non-Jew's home. It's a machokas. What's the machokas talion? So whether or not we're chayshin legaimlin, that's it. That's all they want for that. Question TB 15. Matar yenu shalakum anastu b'bayis b'hapatuach or shasarab be'ir shekulam akum. The whole house, everyone is an akum. Is it mutter? So this is again hamatar yenu shalayanu b'anastu b'bayis b'hapatuach or shasarab be'ir shekulam akum, which is on samachal and aleph. So be'ir shekulam avikachavim aser. Right, it just says it's aser, but then it says ad sheyeshiv mishamer. Until you are mamish, you need some type of a shomer to watch it. Otherwise, it is aser. And then as long as you go to nichnas, but then Rabbi Shimon Eliezer disagrees, and he says reshus avichavim achasi, which could mean that if it's in another person's reshus, then it's mutter. Let's see what I wrote. L'chad ma'aner misarich mafteach, okay? L'chad ma'aner misarich sheyotze v'nichnas v'loi higdo akum ezizman hu nichnas. So that part is correct, but it could also, in addition to yotze v'nichnas, it also could be when we're dealing with it was put in someone else's rishus, whether or not that would make a chiluk. And with that, we finish the parak. Hanulach Rabbi Shmuel, Hanulach Rabbi Shmuel, Hanulach Rabbi Shmuel. We're going to continue with the next parak, which is Asaychas Apoyel, in next daf. Adkan.